There is a world happening right beside you. Every single day, a world of feeling, of loyalty, of quiet longing, of joy so complete it cannot be contained, of grief so real it has no language. And the being who lives inside that world is your dog. Most people spend their entire lives beside their dog without ever truly entering that world. They see the tail wagging. They see the excitement at the door. They see the sleeping and the eating and the playing. But they never stop long enough to ask the deeper question. What is my dog actually feeling? Not just in the obvious moments, but in the quiet ones. The ordinary ones. The ones that pass without ceremony and without notice. Because here is what most people do not realize. Your dog has an emotional life that is far richer, far deeper, and far more complex than almost anyone gives them credit for. And they are living that emotional life right now, beside you, in full, whether you are paying attention or not. For most of human history, the idea that animals had genuine emotions was considered sentimental, unscientific, the kind of thing emotional people said when they didn't know better. Then, the science caught up, and it said something that changed everything. Dr. Gregory Berns, a neuroscientist at Emory University, spent years scanning the brains of dogs using MRI technology. What he found was extraordinary. Dogs have the same brain structures that produce emotions in humans. The same caudate nucleus that activates in humans anticipating something pleasurable activates in dogs. The same neurochemical systems, the same hormonal responses. In Berns' own words, dogs are people too. Not metaphorically, neurologically. Your dog doesn't just behave as if they feel love, joy, fear, grief, and jealousy. They actually feel them, with the same biological machinery that produces those feelings in you. The difference is they cannot tell you. They cannot sit across from you and say, "I was so happy today when you came home. I was frightened this morning. I missed you every hour you were gone." They feel all of it, and they express it the only way they know how, through their body, through their eyes, through the way they move toward you or away, through the way they press close when the world feels too loud, through the way they watch you when they think you aren't looking. Let us start with the emotion most people think they understand about their dog: joy. Because most people have seen their dog's joy. The spinning at the door, the full body wagging, the leaping, the sound they make that isn't quite a bark and isn't quite a whine, but is something in between that sounds unmistakably like happiness. But here is what most people miss. That explosion of joy at the door, that is not just excitement. That is relief. Studies tracking cortisol levels in dogs separated from their owners show that dogs experience a measurable stress response during separation. Not just boredom, not just restlessness. Physiological stress. Their cortisol rises, their heart rate increases, their behavior becomes unsettled. And when you return, every one of those stress hormones drops. Cortisol falls. Oxytocin surges. The body floods with relief and connection simultaneously. What you are witnessing at the door every evening is not simply a happy dog. You are witnessing the end of a period of genuine emotional distress. You are watching your dog's whole body say, "You came back. You always come back. And every time, I love you more for it." And you probably put your bag down and walk to the kitchen without fully taking it in.
We are obsessed with grand romantic gestures, with anniversaries and declarations, but your dog greets you with the most complete expression of love available to them every single day.
And most of the time, we are somewhere else in our heads when it happens. Now, the part that is harder to hold. Dogs grieve. Not as a metaphor, not as a projection. They actually grieve. When a companion animal dies, another dog, a cat, even a rabbit they lived with, dogs show measurable behavioral changes. Loss of appetite, lethargy, searching behavior, sleeping in the places the lost companion used to sleep, waiting near the door they used to enter through. The American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals conducted a study in which 36% of dogs showed a decrease in appetite after losing a companion animal. 11% stopped eating entirely. 63% showed significant changes in vocalization, becoming either unusually quiet or unusually vocal. These are not behavioral quirks. These are grief responses, recognizable across species, written in the same biological language. But the grief that breaks most hearts, when you sit with it long enough, is not the grief dogs feel for other animals. It is the grief they feel for humans. There are documented cases from around the world. Hachiko, the Akita in Japan, who waited at Shibuya Station every day for 9 years after his owner's death, returning each evening to the spot where they used to meet, because nobody had found a way to explain to him that his person was not coming back. Greyfriars Bobby, the Skye Terrier in Edinburgh, who spent 14 years sleeping on his owner's grave in Greyfriars Kirkyard, through Scottish winters, through everything, until he himself died and was buried just inside the same gate. These are not myths. These are documented historical accounts. And what they reveal is something that human philosophy has been circling for thousands of years. The depth of love is measured by the depth of grief it leaves behind. Your dog loves you with a completeness that would leave them shattered if you were gone. And most people spend their entire life beside that love without fully understanding what it is. Dogs feel fear, deeply, viscerally. Some of it is visible. The cowering during thunderstorms, the trembling at the vet, the panic at fireworks. But some of their fear is invisible to most owners, because dogs, particularly dogs who love their humans, often try to manage their own fear in order not to upset the person they are bonded to. Research has shown that dogs in stressful situations frequently look to their owner's face for what behavioral scientists call social referencing, reading your emotional response to determine whether the situation is safe. If you are calm, they try to be calm. If you are tense, their fear amplifies. They are not just experiencing their own emotional world. They are constantly monitoring yours and adjusting their own emotional state accordingly. This means something profound. Your dog's emotional world is not sealed off from yours. It is porous. It breathes through yours. When you carry chronic stress into the house, your dog absorbs it. When you are anxious, they become anxious. When you are angry, they often internalize the tension without understanding its source. And because they cannot ask you what is wrong, they simply carry it, quietly, beside you, without complaint. This is the part that the competitor's script was circling around, the philosopher's question, dressed in different clothes. You will have a last day with your dog, not as a hypothetical, as a certainty.
The day will look like an ordinary day. You will not know it is the last one until it is already over. And your dog, whose entire emotional world revolves around you, will spend that last day doing exactly what they always do. Watching you, following you, waiting for you, pressing close when something feels uncertain, greeting you at the door as though your return is the best thing that has ever happened to them. Because to them, it is. Every time. We ritualize human last moments. We write eulogies. We hold services. We frame photographs.
But a dog's last day receives no ceremony, no preparation, no awareness. It simply arrives, and then it is over, and you are left standing in a house that is unbearably quiet, looking at a bowl that no longer needs to be filled, hearing nothing in the hallway, feeling the absence of something you realize too late, the way humans always realize things, was the most consistent love of your life. The Stoics had their memento mori. Remember that you will die. Watching you, following you, waiting for you, pressing close when something feels uncertain, greeting you at the door as though your return is the best thing that has ever happened to them. Because to them, it is. Every time. We ritualize human last moments. We write eulogies, we hold services, we frame photographs. But a dog's last day receives no ceremony, no preparation, no awareness. It simply arrives. And then it is over. And you are left standing in a house that is unbearably quiet, looking at a bowl that no longer needs to be filled, hearing nothing in the hallway, feeling the absence of something you realize too late, the way humans always realize things, was the most consistent love of your life. The Stoics had their memento mori. Remember that you will die. Perhaps there was a version of that for the people who love their dogs. Remember that they will go. Not to poison the ordinary evening, not to ruin the walk in the park, but to wake up inside it, to be present for the spinning at the door, to actually feel it instead of being somewhere else in your head, to kneel down sometimes, to really look at them, to understand that the emotional world they are living in, rich with love and loyalty and joy and quiet devotion, is a world built almost entirely around you, and you are the center of it, right now, today, whether you are paying attention or not. So let us be specific. What does your dog's emotional world actually contain? Research now confirms they experience joy, genuine neurochemical joy, identical in mechanism to human happiness. Love, measurable oxytocin bonding, the same hormone that bonds mothers to children. Fear, real physiological fear responses, cortisol spikes, heart rate increases. Grief, documented behavioral grief responses following loss of companions. Jealousy, a 2014 study in PLOS1 found dogs show jealousy when their owners show affection to other dogs. They push in, they nudge, they demand the attention back. Optimism and pessimism. Yes, genuinely. Studies show some dogs are neurologically more optimistic in their assessment of uncertain situations, and others more pessimistic. They have emotional dispositions.
empathy? Dogs yawn in response to human yawns, showing emotional contagion. They approach distressed strangers. They offer comfort to people crying. Pride. Dogs show different body language after successfully completing a task versus failing. Chest slightly higher, gait different, something that looks unmistakably like satisfaction. Boredom. Real cognitive boredom when understimulated, leading to behavioral issues that are almost always misread as disobedience rather than emotional need. Loneliness. Physiologically measurable loneliness during extended separation. This is not a simple creature living a simple emotional life. This is a being of extraordinary emotional complexity.
Living right beside you, every day, in a world you have probably never fully entered. The competitor script ended with something true and hard. You cannot solve the ending. You cannot stop the last conversation from coming. What you can choose is whether you were truly there for the ones that came before it. Your dog needs the same thing. They do not need a bigger house. They do not need more expensive food.
They do not need Instagram-worthy adventures, though those are beautiful too. What they need, what the research consistently shows produces the deepest well-being in dogs, is presence. Your actual, undivided, phone-down, eyes-open presence. Because here is what happens in your dog's emotional world when you are truly present with them. Oxytocin rises in both of you simultaneously. Cortisol drops.
Heart rate synchronizes. There are studies showing dogs and owners develop synchronized heart rates during calm, shared attention. Their nervous system settles. Their emotional world becomes safer, more stable, more full. You don't have to do anything grand. You just have to be there, really there. Not physically present while mentally elsewhere, actually there, looking at them, letting them look at you, allowing the moment to be what it is, complete and unrepeatable, instead of moving through it on the way to something else. The Japanese concept the competitor referenced, ichigo ichie, one time, one meeting. Every gathering is unrepeatable. Your dog already understands this. Not intellectually, not philosophically, but in their body, in their emotional world. Every walk is the only walk. Every meal is the only meal. Every time you sit beside them is the only time. They do not experience your relationship as a sequence of repeated events. They experience each moment as singular, complete, whole. They do not save their attention for later. They do not give you a distracted version of themselves while the better version waits for something more important. They give you everything, every time. And they will keep doing that. Quietly, consistently, right up until the last day, which will look exactly like today. So here is what all of this is really saying. Your dog is living an emotional life of extraordinary richness and depth. A life centered almost entirely on you. A life that will end, the way all lives end, sooner than feels possible. And in that life, in that emotional world, you are everything. Not a fixture, not furniture. Everything. The center of their joy, the anchor of their calm, the person they grieve when you leave, the person they celebrate when you return, the person they watch when they think you aren't looking,
the person they press close to when the world feels uncertain. The person their entire emotional architecture is built around. And you get to choose every single day whether you show up for that. Whether you walk through the door and actually receive what is being offered.
Whether you sit beside them and actually feel the weight of their devotion. Whether you understand in your body, not just your mind, what it means to be loved that completely by something that expects nothing back except your presence. Your dog is not waiting for you to be better. They are not waiting for you to be less stressed or more successful or further along. They are not keeping a list of your failures. They are not comparing you to anyone. They wake up every morning believing with their whole emotional world that today is the day they get to be beside you. And that is enough.
That has always been enough for them. The question is whether it is enough for you. Whether you can allow yourself to be loved that simply, that completely, that quietly. Because your dog's emotional world is already full. It has been full since the day they chose you. The only thing that changes anything is whether you finally choose to step inside it and stay there, present, unhurried, awake for however many ordinary days you have left, together, one unrepeatable moment at a time.